Anna Prizzia is the president of the board and co-founder for Working Food, formerly Forage and Blue Oven Kitchens, a nonprofit focused on supporting and sustaining local food efforts in North Central Florida. Anna also oversees the Field and Fork program for the University of Florida. She has 15 years of experience in sustainability and food system efforts, including working as statewide coordinator for the Florida Farm to School program, management of sustainability efforts with Institutional Food Service at UF, and serving on the boards of Slow Food Gainesville and the Alachua County Nutrition Alliance. She received her BS in marine biology from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and her MS in wildlife ecology and conservation with a certificate in tropical conservation and development from the University of Florida. She served in the Peace Corps at Vanuatu from 2004 to 2005. Welcome, Anna.
Thanks for having me.
So before we dive into what we're here to talk about, food seems to be a recurring element of your life. So tell us why you're involved in food.
It is. Food is sort of a passion for me personally, obviously. For me, it's something that we all do, usually at least 3 times a day if we're fortunate enough to have that opportunity. And it's something that brings us together, it binds us together. When we break bread together, we form relationships, we build community, we cement our love for each other by making food for each other, by serving food to each other, and by eating together. So for me, food is this obvious conduit when you are really passionate about both sustainability because of how it grows and also about community by bringing people together.
Well, your passion for food certainly convinced both the city and the county commissions recently to get involved in a really exciting project that you are spearheading along with some other great folks. So tell us about Working Food.
Sure. So yes, we were really lucky to receive funding from both the city and the county. We were really grateful. The county gave us $50,000 to go towards equipment that we can purchase for a kitchen incubator that we're building, and the city in kind contributed $75,000 to that project. So we're really excited. We'll be breaking ground very soon. In fact, we're in that the fun of the permitting phase right now. But we'll be building a kitchen incubator, which will be a space that entrepreneurs and community members can use. They can rent by the hour, and that helps them to be able to reduce the barriers to entry for becoming a food-based entrepreneur, and provides a space where people can teach classes and workshops on cooking and culinary skills, canning, and also allows our farmers to be able to have better access to markets here locally, like restaurants and retail outlets.
And I know this is kind of an extension of some previous efforts. There was Forage and there was Blue Oven Kitchens. So can you kind of take us back a little bit to when those things started and how it evolved up to where we are now?
Sure. So Forage was a nonprofit that was really focused primarily on education and outreach and community engagement around our local food system, and also housed our local seed library. So we save seed locally to help it be more adapted to our climate and sort of the challenges we have in Florida, and provide that to home gardeners. And then Blue Oven Kitchens was working on more of the economic development side of things, supporting entrepreneurs, providing a small kitchen space. And collaboratively, we would work together on that intersection and host things like the Farm to Restaurant workshop and other things that would allow us to bring the educational side in contact with that economic development side. Over time, we realized a couple of things. Number one, that those two pieces are really integrally linked and that they don't necessarily need to be standalone. We also went and did some best practices around the country, looking at projects that were happening that were really moving the needle forward. In North Carolina, up in New England, and out in California, and in Wisconsin, we looked at a bunch of different projects and saw that when they were up to scale, when they kind of got expanded and they really focused all of those efforts in a concentrated way, that they could do the work a lot more effectively and efficiently. And thirdly, by combining forces, we reduce administrative costs to our community to be able to do this kind of work. So we decided to merge, and we worked with the city and the county to do a feasibility study. We surveyed the community. We went out to businesses locally and farmers, and we did focus groups and interviews, and then we took all that information and created a business plan, and we've been off to the races ever since.
I really love the location that you all found.
Thank you.
Behind Publix on Main Street, kind of in that up and coming area there. I know there's a new craft brewery there. And tell us about the space you found.
We love that space. The Grove Street neighborhood is really up and coming, I think. And I hope that it will be a really community-driven development process, and that we will see that it's possible to create something that is meaningful and beautiful without being just, big, giant buildings and sort of what you standardly think of when you think of, redevelopment. There's already some great businesses, as you mentioned, Cypress and Grove Brewery and Afternoon, and more and more are coming every day. So we're excited to be a part of it, and we're excited. We hope that we can actually be kind of a hub for activity there. We've got a beautiful outdoor space, and we have an event space that acts as sort of a community center that allows us to provide those workshops and programs that I talked about earlier, but also is available for people if they need an affordable event space. And then we'll have the commercial kitchen, and our offices are located there as well.
How large is this commercial kitchen?
The space that we're building out the commercial kitchen in is about 4,000 square feet. So it will be built out in phases. The first phase is about half of that, and that will be the production kitchen space where we'll have the hood, and we'll have all the large, mixers and tilt skillets and steam kettles and things that people probably have no idea what I'm talking about when I say, but those that are in the entrepreneurial world of food will know.
The people who need those things know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. And then we'll have specialized cold storage and dry storage available for rent by the month as well.
Right.
And we hope that'll actually not only serve those entrepreneurs and community members, but also serve a bottleneck that we've found in our community, in our restaurant and retail outlets, where cold storage tends to be something that they struggle with having enough of. So we hope we can provide services to existing businesses as well as startups.
So there'll be some sort of calendar, some sort of schedule, and people who are interested in or need the kitchen will be able to sign up. Who is eligible for this, or are there restrictions?
Yeah, so we ask that everyone who uses the kitchen space be a member of the community center of working food, and we have low-income memberships, and we have some free memberships that have been subsidized by support from us, a grant from Satchels, and from some other foundation funding that we have, so we have the ability to help those who need it. Otherwise, there's a sort of an agreement that they have to sign, and there's certain steps that they need to take to make sure that they have the food safety training that they need, and the training on the space and how to operate the equipment. But once they've gone through those steps, anyone is eligible to rent the space, and the space is rented by the hour. So that way businesses don't have to have the overhead costs of this massive amount of rent, not knowing if they're going to use it or not as they get started. Right. And the same thing with the community members. It also depends a bit on what they're going to be doing. So we have different rates for different types of businesses. So a food truck, that just needs it for commissary space won't be charged the same price that someone who's coming in and turning on all the ovens and the hood and running full bore for 6 hours at a time.
Gotcha. And this is an order of magnitude larger than the Blue Oven
It
kitchen.
is.
I assume you ran out of capacity there.
Yeah, so we, well, two things. One, right now we have a commissary kitchen, so we do have a small space that's very similar to the space that Blue Oven Kitchen had, only without the oven, so it's actually a little less functional than what they had. But it serves very well for a commissary kitchen and low impact. In fact, our first entrepreneurs are getting inspected in the space tomorrow. We're very excited. Brio, Cold Brew Coffee will be moving in as our first entrepreneur. But we eventually will be expanding, and yes, it'll be much, much bigger than Blue Oven. And part of that is that economy of scale I spoke about when I talked about doing the feasibility study and realizing that we really needed to have the large-scale equipment that made it more efficient for entrepreneurs to make their products and to scale up their recipes in order for it to be reasonable for them to actually create businesses in that manner.
So the kitchen obviously is a huge part of this, but when you're all built out, when you're open, when you're firing on all cylinders, tell me more about the overall space, the community area, and what do you envision when it's up and running?
Gosh, I mean, I guess I just envision a really vibrant, really activated space where, community members are coming for classes, there's yoga workshops going on, there's cooking classes going on, people are having parties and family reunions and community gatherings from that area there in the event space and in the courtyard. Entrepreneurs are making beautiful products out of our kitchen and selling them in a small retail facility that we'll have there, so that folks that are over at the brewery enjoying a good time or coming down the street can stop and pick up some charcuterie, some cured meats, can come and pick up some fresh tortillas or sandwiches or jams and jellies and preserves that have been made right there in the kitchen, and that it really is just sort of a center for food efforts in our community, and that organizations that are working in that arena are coming together in that space physically and sort of virtually to be able to provide our community good services.
That sounded so wonderful.
I mean, dare to dream.
Hey, I know that you're involved in a youth gardening program.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of this overall effort?
It is.
How does it integrate?
Yeah. So Working Food absorbed obviously the activities of both Blue Oven Kitchens and Forage, and a big part of what Forage does is that gardening education that I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We do it for our community in these workshops and programs that I've been mentioning,
Mm-hmm.
but we also do it on a regular basis with youth. We do it in two specific ways right now. One is with a partnership with the Cultural Arts Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
They have after-school science academy programs for children, some of our most at-risk youth, gives them an opportunity to apply some science, technology, engineering, and math skills in fun ways with real scientists. And so we've taken on 2 of those, and we do weekly garden programs with them where we get the kids' hands in the dirt. We teach them everything from seeds all the way to the fork, and we use that as a way to teach science in fun and unique ways. The other way is with the Farm to School program the Alachua County Schools has, and Grow Hub, which have a space out at Lofton and Horizon, where they're doing farm-to-school efforts, everything from gardening and teaching special needs students about how to garden and grow their own food, all the way through to producing food for our school lunch program. Mm-hmm. We partner with them to provide education and support for that program.
And so that's something you go out to, or
Yes.
will you be using the space to actually bring people in?
Occasionally we'll bring people in, and actually one of the ways that we're most excited about, another first for us that last week, is that we hired our first student that came from that program. So a big part of that program is about providing special needs students with employable skills and life skills, so that when they graduate they have an opportunity to plug into our community in meaningful ways. And we just hired the first student out of that program to help us part-time with our seed collective and help us with sorting seeds. And we hope that we can connect more of those students as they get trained through this program with our entrepreneurs as they need help, and to the center. So in some ways there will be those links and those connections, but the majority of that work does happen on site at the schools or at the community centers where the gardens are located.
You have a garden at the site? Is that correct? Or is there a community garden
No,
in the area?
There is a community garden in the area, the Dreamers Garden. We aren't actively involved in that program. It's been growing and beautiful for years and years, and the community has done an amazing job. Maria Huff Edwards and the leadership of so many in that community have made that what it is. Mm-hmm. And we're just proud to have it as a neighbor. We're also right adjacent to Bread of the Mighty Food Bank, which is another amazing organization that the county supports.
That's right.
And we hope that as we grow, we'll be able to support their efforts to get more fresh and healthy food to our community.
You know, you mentioned the work that you're doing with seeds and the importance of that. I saw a film recently just about seeds around the world and the importance of preserving them. Can you tell us a little more about that? Are these seeds that are somehow cultivated or valued and stored and propagated at the local level? Or?
Yes, absolutely. So, seeds literally are the encyclopedia of life for us, right? They hold all of the information that our plants need to grow, and the more we can protect the diversity of those seeds, the more encyclopedia information we have to go back to in times of crisis, if in face of climate change, in the face of diseases or pests, and in the face of changing flavors or desires. Maybe we want a cucumber for pickling versus a cucumber for a salad, or maybe we want tomatoes that make really great sauce versus one you would slice and put on a sandwich. And so by protecting those seeds and growing those seeds and saving them here locally, we're ensuring, one, that they're adapted to our climate and they're good for our needs and what we want in our own community. And we're also protecting our food system literally from the ground up by protecting the very sort of information that it's based on. And so we work here locally to save that seed, but we also work with regional and national organizations, Seed Savers Exchange and Southern Exposure and the University of Florida IFAS, to ensure that those seeds that we're saving are linked to the larger efforts nationally and internationally to save seed.
I know one of the phrases you used with the County Commission that really resonated was food security and just the importance of the local food system. How does all this relate to food security?
Yeah, so we have a lot of really amazing organizations in our community. I mentioned Bread of the Mighty, we have Grace Marketplace, many of our churches have food pantries. So we have a lot of work being done on sort of emergency food assistance and helping people, get food when they need it. And I always say, in addition to giving a man a fish, we need to teach a man a fish. And I hope that this program is really about that. It's about providing that economic opportunity for business ownership and for teaching people what they need to have the skills to grow their own food, to save their own seeds, to cook their own food and preserve their own food, and ultimately work together as a community to solve challenges that we have around things like fresh food access.
Right. So we've talked a lot about working food, but I should tell our viewers, you also have a full-time career and job at the University of Florida, and I know one of the things you're involved in is the Field to Fork program, or Field and Fork program. Tell us about that.
Sure. So that is my full-time day job. I just do working food on nights and weekends and the occasional emergency phone call. But we at Field and Fork, actually, mission is also food related. We work to provide experiential education in sustainable agriculture and food systems. So in doing that, we work with students and faculty and staff to literally, again, get their hands in the dirt and have them learning our food system from the seed all the way to the fork. We try to provide opportunities for our faculty to teach courses that are more hands-on and more experiential in nature. We have volunteer and internship opportunities for our students to get out in the field and start working in the real world, so to speak, of our food system, and help them understand that 1 in 3 careers touches the food system in some way. And so no matter what field they go into, rather they're going to be a policymaker and work for Alachua County, or rather they're going to literally go into food systems, they have an opportunity to impact our food system, and we help them learn how to think critically about that.
Interesting. And you've kind of been involved in the sustainability program at UF too. I'm trying to figure out where all this intersects. Is it IFAS? Is it?
Yeah.
Are you an IFAS?
I'm an
person?
IFAS. Yep. Okay. I work for the Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences in the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, and my program sits under the dean. But it is an interdisciplinary program. So even though we sit under IFAS, we really serve the whole campus. We run the gardens that are right by the bat houses, and those provide fresh food to the people who participate in it, but also to the food pantry on campus. And we help support that food pantry that is run by the Dean of Students' office. We provide them with fresh fruits and vegetables. Last year we gave them over 5,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables.
And that's for students specifically?
And that's for students and staff and faculty. Anyone with a valid UFID can use that food pantry in a time of need. So when that financial aid check hasn't come in yet, or you had to buy your books and the end of the month rent's due and you're not quite sure how to make ends meet, you can stop in the pantry, and in addition to having those shelf-stable items, you'll have fresh food that was harvested right on campus.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell me about Slow Food Gainesville. I assume that's a play on words.
It is. So Slow Food Gainesville was part of an international organization. Slow Food is an organization that focuses on advocating for good, clean, fair food. And what they mean by that is food that's good for you and the planet, food that's clean of toxic pesticides and chemicals that they consider to be dangerous for our human health and for the environment, and fair that all of the people who are involved in the value chain from the field work all the way to the retail and the sales of it were treated fairly and paid fairly for their work.
And you're on the board of that?
I was on the board of that. Okay. Slow Food Gainesville sort of I would say kind of closed up shop in a way. I think that a lot of the local organizations like Forage, Blue Oven Kitchens, and then there's several others in our community that work in this food arena, and I think they really took up the mantle and have been working in those arenas in ways that have allowed Slow Food to kind of take a backseat. So we still have many members of Slow Food International and Slow Food USA here in Gainesville, but I think and I am still a member, but I think we focus more on supporting and advocating for those national efforts while working with our own local organizations.
So I kind of see all of this sort of morphing and coming together in different things, and what you're working on with the board seems to be a place where all these things are kind of coming together. Tell me about the Alachua County Nutrition Alliance. You're on that board as well, aren't you?
I was, yeah. I just rolled off that board.
Oh, did you?
But I served on that board for several years, and the Alachua County Nutrition Association is just a group of like-minded individuals that come together to be able to share ideas and information about what they're doing in the community to have better synergy and reciprocity, and also ensure less duplication of effort with regards to food and nutrition efforts. So the school board participates, a number of those food security and emergency food assistance organizations I mentioned participate, we participate, and it's really just an effort to try to be more coordinated.
Yeah. I have to say, when I was reading your bio, I was particularly interested in your Peace Corps experience. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to the Peace Corps.
Sure.
And I think you got a pretty good luck of the draw when your location was decided on.
I did. You know, it was kind of a shock to the system, though, because I thought I was going to Latin America. I thought I would be in the Caribbean or in Central America, and that was what the focus of my work had been in my tropical conservation certificate you mentioned. And so I was sure that I was going to end up there. And when I got Vanuatu as my assignment, I had to look at where it was on the map.
I have to be honest, I had to look too.
Yeah, I didn't know. So for those of you that don't know, it's halfway between Fiji and the Solomon Islands, on the other side of the world in the Ring of Fire. But it was beautiful. It was really an amazing experience. I definitely learned way more than they learned from me, I'm sure. But I got to be on an island called Tanna, which is in the south of that chain of islands. There's about 92 islands in the chain, depending on who you ask. And we worked on natural resources conservation efforts. So I was working with the women primarily in the community and teaching them about sustainable harvest and yield, and how to work with their natural environment in a more sustainable way.
Was this right after college? Or
this was right after my master's degree.
Right after your master's?
Yep. I originally thought I wanted to save the world by going abroad and doing development work. And then, you know, as I got overseas, I realized that, well, one, it's really hard to work outside of your own cultural context, because the more you know, the more you find out you don't know.
Right.
And you realize how much impact you can have, and that might be unintended consequences. And secondly, I realized that, you know, really in the United States, we're kind of the hogs at the trough when it comes to natural resources use and abuse. And so the best thing I could do for sustainability initiatives was to come back home. And that's when I started working for the Office of Sustainability. And I did that for a number of years and directed that office for the University of Florida for a number of years before I decided to make food my full-time focus.
Right.
And left the office and began working with the Farm to School program.
So Anna, we've talked about some of the funding that you receive from the County Commission and the City Commission. I'm sure that $125,000, though, isn't the total needs of putting together an operation like this. So tell me a little about how you're raising dollars for this.
Sure.
And where they're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, yes, we're very grateful to the county and the city and for their support, but it isn't everything. So we do write grants, of course, and we have a number of grants from different foundations and community organizations that help support us.
So you're a 501c3?
We are. We're a 501c3, and so we also get a lot of really great support from our community members as a whole, making donations to our organization to support our work. Right. And people can join the center as individuals or as families as a way to help support the work, and then with that they get a seed CSA, so they get seeds from our seed collective, and they get discounts on some of our paid programs and things like that.
Am I allowed to give money even if I don't want to use the kitchen, or I don't need any seeds?
You can give us all the money you want, and you can even write it off on your taxes.
That's right,
yep,
501c3.
So, yep.
Are there a lot of, are you finding many grant opportunities in this area?
We are. There are a number of different organizations that are focused on this, and I think it's becoming an area of growth for people to realize that food systems is a place they need to invest in. And I think more and more people are realizing that in addition to the emergency food assistance, this area of local food systems resilience and community food systems is a really important place for investment. And so we've been really lucky to secure a foundation grant that's helping to cover our overhead costs for the first couple of years while we're getting ourselves open. And we are also lucky to have secured a loan to cover what we don't raise in fundraising efforts for the rest of the kitchen construction.
And I assume that's a huge
That's huge.
job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of a big raw space, or are you?
Yeah, it's
are you doing a lot of moving of walls and all of that?
It's pretty raw and open. It's like one big empty old building. It's what used to be the Powell Beauty Academy at 219 Northwest 10th Ave. So the space is really open. The event space is fully finished and beautiful and has a beautiful courtyard, so that's ready to go and people can enjoy it now. And that's another way we make money, is people can rent that space for their own private events, and all those proceeds support our nonprofit efforts. And also, obviously, renting the spaces once they're available will generate revenue to help support the overhead costs of running that operation.
Am I hearing you correct that the event area is open now?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, open and operational. In fact, we have a ton of events and programs all the time. We've got really great workshops that are free. In fact, this weekend we taught a tomato boot camp where we taught people how to grow and their own tomatoes, how to save their own tomato seeds, all of that. We also teach workshops that have a little bit of a fee associated with them to cover the costs. Like we did a fermenting workshop this weekend where we taught people how to can and ferment their own vegetables, and people paid a little bit to cover the cost of the vegetables and the jars and things like that. But we have programs all the time. I mean, if people go to workingfood.org and take a look at our calendar of events, they'll see that there's no shortage of fun and exciting things they can get involved in.
What kind of big events do you have coming up?
Oh gosh, well actually this coming Wednesday.
You know, this show will air in about 3 weeks, so some of them may pass,
right.
But that's okay.
Yeah, this coming Wednesday we actually have a potluck cook-off. We're hosting that at First Magnitude, and partnership with them as part of our Big Amazing Give campaign. Okay. And it's going to be really fun, and people can win a golden crock pot for having participated. And what else do we have going on? We have a bunch of spring workshops coming up with gardening, different gardening. We have plant sales every Saturday. Right now we're selling tomatoes and peppers and eggplants, things for your summer garden. And that's actually out at Grow Hub at the Lofton site that I mentioned to you.
Right.
And that'll be ongoing through the spring until they run out of plants. So yeah, lots going on. We also, a lot of times will partner with other organizations to do things like dinners or farm to table dinners or fun events like that. So people should definitely take a look at the calendar and keep their eyes out for upcoming things.
You know, one of the things I love about this community too is when something like this gets off the ground, you see a lot of nonprofits figuring out ways to collaborate and work together. And this is just an amazing story, and what you and others are putting together here is phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes, it's not just me. We have so many people that are behind us. So I have to say a big thank you to Maya and Melissa and Sarah and all the many, many people who are making this possible, our board of directors. We have a huge team of people who are making this possible.
I can't wait to watch it grow.
Thank you.
All right.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
She seemed really depressed.
Just seemed so isolated. Wishes that she was never born. And
So I knew he had depression, but I didn't know it was that far.
Said something to me about killing himself.
I didn't know what to do because I kind of thought, oh, he's going to be mad at me.
Tell somebody, tell an adult, counselor, parent, whatever.
It would have been horrible for me if she never talked to me again, but I'd live with it because I know she'd be alive.
Definitely worth getting help, even if you think you're going to lose a friendship, because it's better to lose the friendship than the actual friend.